10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I know I let you down. I wasn't there when you needed me around.
Hi, and welcome to Dax Chats. In this episode, I'm speaking to a lady that is pretty new to me. She was on The Voice in 2018. She's released a song called Real Love, and before that, it was Guys Like You, Guys Like You. And she's also just brought out a brand new acoustic album called All the Mountains I Must Climb. Today, I'm speaking to Southern Highlands local Michelle Cashman, and here she is right now. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So the lead up there was a bit crazy. I didn't even know you were on The Voice in 2018. That's probably because I live in China. I have no idea what goes on in Australia.
I wouldn't know either because I don't watch television.
So you are on a reality television show, but you've never watched it.
Oh, I have only if my friends have been on it and I know that they're going to be on it, and I will force myself to sit down and endure the crippling anxiety that comes from watching other people do the same thing as well.
For sure. It's one of those fun things, and a lot of artists have gone through that. I don't know. I spoke to someone in Norway the other day, and he said that Norwegian Idol is like a 4-day process. It's all slammed in the 4 days, and then they air it over a period of weeks. It's like, wow, how does that work?
Yeah, I think all reality television is a little not reality. There's a lot that sort of goes on to make it, and to just make it functional. There's way too many things to juggle to try and do everything in the. Yeah, just much easier to jam a lot of things in and then make it look like it's stretched out.
Yeah, for sure. So I first came across you when we were sent your track, Guys Like You. Now, that's an awesome track. I love that song. I still do.
Oh, thank you.
Tell me about the song.
I wrote Guys Like You about 11 years ago, I think. I was living in Surrey Hills, and I was in a little studio apartment, and I remember being in the living room, which was also my studio and my son's bedroom and everything else. And the phone rang and my auntie called, and I was talking to her, and she was telling me about how a friend of ours was experiencing domestic violence. And I just remember, because I remember standing there and I was like, oh, are you kidding me? What the hell? She needs to get out. She needs to, and all of these emotions sort of come up. And, when I was a little kid, I watched a fair bit of domestic violence. So I had that viewpoint. I remember calling the police when I was 12 and just all sorts of stuff. But, and then, I had dated a couple of guys who, I never really got to that stage because I think having the background that I had as a kid, I saw those red flags a lot earlier than what someone else might. So, I think I got out quick, and that was the solution, and I was just like, the difference between me and someone who's really trapped in that cycle and that environment is that girls like me, we leave guys like that, and I think that's for anybody. Male or female, if you're in a relationship where you are constantly being abused or hurt or treated terribly, don't stay in that. Like, there is nothing to gain from staying because that person's not going to change while their behavior is still acceptable.
For sure. Exactly.
And I could not, I
Uh,
couldn't just get on the phone and say to her, you need to leave. Like that was, that never works. And it always sort of has the opposite effect than what you want it to. But what I could do was write a song. So I took all of my sort of experiences and bundled them up. And it was kind of like, that was my response to her situation through the lens of, a few of my own.
Now, before this song actually came out, and I guess before your voice experience, you struggled quite a lot over the course of time where you actually gave music up and it felt really bad. When someone pulled out a guitar, it felt really bad and you sort of withdrew into yourself. And you went, there's a lot more to the story and I'm sure you can tell us about it, but you went to your doctor and you got help for anxiety.
Yes, I did. So I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is like a chronic pain condition. Which, I mean, people with fibromyalgia often get cranky at me for just putting it in that little nutshell because there's so much more to it. You've got certain sensitivities that go with it. I was just talking to my son this afternoon about how when I was at the worst, I couldn't go outside without sunglasses on. And if I didn't have my sunnies with me and I was trying to get out of the car and walk into the house, I was like walking like that so that, I didn't have the sun in my eyes. That's how sensitive it was. And the other part that goes with that is that you end up like exhausted because you're in pain all the time. And so a lot of the things that I did as a mother and a stepmother and a wife and all of that kind of stuff, I ran out of energy really, really quickly. I only had a very limited amount of energy. And so I started to be more and more, I guess, committed to the things that I felt like I had to do versus the things that I wanted to do, and I kind of put music and performing live into the basket of things that were a luxury or that were just about me. So I kind of started labeling that as a selfish idea, given how little I had in my tank for everyone who I cared about. I still remember the kids wanting me to take them to the movies and I'm like, oh, yeah, I can take you to the movies. And then by the time it came around, I couldn't because I didn't have the energy to drive safely. So, to just get in the car and drive to the movies and sit there was, too hard. So I put music on the back burner and I stopped playing. And then I also stopped writing. I figured, if no one's ever going to hear the songs, what's the point? And and then so unbeknownst to me, really, that is how I am healthy and that's how I operate in the world. That's I'm, I guess, wired like that I walk around through the world joining metaphorical dots until something happens on the inside and the dots join and then bam, out comes a song. And so I've got all the input happening all the time. But if I'm not doing the output, then it all banks up kind of like I guess a river would if you put a dam in it and never dealt with the constant flow. And then, combined with struggling with the fibromyalgia, even though I had invested so much into getting my health back and, I'd made many improvements in terms of getting my energy levels and stuff like that, I was way too scared to go back to music because I couldn't do it the way that I wanted to or the way that I had done previously because it's still, I still don't have the energy levels of a 25-year-old without health conditions. So I ended up, just really, really struggling. And I got to that point, someone asked to borrow my guitar and I was like, okay. And as I pulled it out from under the bed, there was that much dust on it that it left a full handprint of, and I'm like, wow, it's been that long since I've touched this thing. And any time that I saw someone else performing or, even my stepdaughter would get the guitar out and sing and we used to sing together and stuff and she'd sit there and sing and I would, I started getting up and leaving the room, not, trying to be subtle about it, but at the same time, it was just breaking my heart that I wasn't playing. It was like, you know, a duck sitting in the scrub watching all the other ducks in the pond, and I was like, "Meh." So yeah, I didn't really realize how much that had taken its toll on me. And I ended up, you know, I was driving along and driving my car, and I just started having these little thoughts that, you know, maybe if I just give the steering wheel that little nudge, that all the pain would go away, and I wouldn't have to struggle anymore, and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And you know, if you have one of those thoughts once in a blue moon, you're just like, okay, not bad, right, keep driving, and it's over. But this was happening, was starting to get to the point where it was every time I got behind the wheel of the car, I started to not trust myself driving. And it was like, okay, this is obviously something that's a big deal now. You need to go and talk. And so I went to my GP and I just said, look, this is where I'm at, and this is what I'm going through. What do you think I should do? And he said, look, what you're describing to me, it sounds pretty serious, and it does sound like that what's happening for you is that your anxiety's got that bad that you've burnt out and you've got nothing left in the tank, and thus you don't have the will to just get up every day and do every day because you've just burnt out. And you know, you've got all of that, the winding up, but none of the unwinding. So he said, you know, why don't we book you in to one of these 3-week programs for anxiety and depression, and go and have a little holiday in one of these hospitals and find out what's really going on for you, and you know, unpack some of this stuff. And
that there in itself had more anxiety for you, because here you are thinking, I'm going into hospital to try and get better, but I've failed everybody else. I've failed my husband. I've failed my kids. You know, you had these thoughts running through your head.
Of course. It's like, so I just can't get getting up out of bed and functioning as a normal human being, right? I'm going to let the team down. I'm, you know, and I had always been the glue in my family. I'd always been the one who picked up the pieces and got on with it. And even, you know, with fibromyalgia and stuff like that, I still, you know, I did the school pickups, I did the school drop-offs, I organized the birthday parties, you know, all of those things. And then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, so I'm just dumping this with my husband. Like, what kind of a person does that? And if my whole entire value as a wife and a stepmother and a mother is based on what I can do for these people, and being that glue, if I'm falling apart, then why is anyone going to love me? What's the point, you know? And so it was a rude, horrible shock, but I just went, you know what? I'm not going to be any good to these people if I do nudge that steering wheel to the left a little, you know, like that's,
For sure.
You know, it's better to do this and get better, because then, you know, when I do have something in my tank and I get my head screwed back on, I'm going to be much more valuable to everyone. And I'm a big advocate for practicing what you preach. And for a very long time, I've always said to people, hey, if you need help, you get the help.
Get help. Yeah.
Get help.
Yeah.
And, you know, you fill your tank and you're able to do it.
But that's always the easiest thing to do. It's always, we can give advice. We can say, hey, you know, if you're struggling, go and get some help. But it's harder for us to actually feel it and understand that there's something happening in ourselves as well.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is, for me, was as well, like, that whole practice what you preach was the thing that actually got me across the line, because I had to actually take myself out of that situation and go, if this was my son experiencing this and he had a wife and 3 kids at home or whatever, like, come on, we have holidays. We have, you know, we go and do stuff with our life. We don't have to be there 100% every day, all day for everyone else. We actually have to, our responsibility is to ourselves first, because if we actually tick that box, then we're so much more capable of doing that for others. So I ripped the Band-Aid off because I didn't want to put it off and talk myself out of it, because I knew I would. And within 72 hours, I was in the lobby checking myself in, and I did the 3 weeks.
We'll just skip forward in we won't talk about the hospital itself, but one thing that I did find interesting that you actually spoke about on your website, and anybody that wants to know the real Michelle Cashman, please jump onto her website, michellecashman.com. It is all there, and it is all there, bare and all. It's a wonderful read, so get onto it. But I do want to say that the psychiatrist that you were dealing with in the hospital basically turned around to you and told you that you need to be doing music, and you were thinking that here's this guy that's supposed to be just telling me that I'm ill. Here's some pills. Go and numb your mind and off you go. But this psychiatrist turned around and said, this is what you're missing in your life. This is what you need to be doing, and this is what you should go and do.
Yeah. So basically it was music is, it's how, like I was saying before, it's how I'm wired. And his theory was that, if you are wired as a musician and that is what keeps you healthy and functioning and well in your world, then you have an obligation to do that, because his prescription for me was go and do music and play piano half an hour a day. So I was like, okay, well, I can do that. Yeah, so I did, and obviously since September last year, I've been doing that a lot. So that's
absolutely
good. Yeah,
absolutely.
And it's evident, like, in my life as well. I'm so much happier and brighter and lighter. Like, people look at me, unless I'm having like a bad like fibromyalgia day or something like that. Most of the time, like people's comments are, the light is back behind your eyes. That the glow is back.
And you do look very, very happy. Your second single was Real Love, and that was about the love of a child, about your son. And I really loved the little bit at the end where your son says, "Thank you for listening to my song."
It's so cute. I'm so glad that I caught that. He's 15 now. So I think that is like the only piece of audio I have from him as a baby. And it's like he's 4 in that. And it was just so
wow.
Cute. Yeah. It makes me like, I just gush, So, yeah.
But I do remember seeing some live stuff, because you have during this pandemic you have decided to make yourself go live every day. For you don't know how long it's going to be or what's going to happen, but you've sort of committed yourself to doing these live feeds every day. And I've been watching a fair few of them, and I remember saying you were singing a song, and there's just so much passion in your songs, but there's also so much pain.
Yeah, I think that's the beauty of music for me, is it's like that splinter remover, and then you don't walk around with all your splinters in there. Like, you get them out in that 3.5 minutes where it's safe, you express it, it's all out, and then it's gone. Like, you can walk around and be happy now because you don't have a big splinter in your heart.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. During this pandemic, as I said, I live in China, but my father passed away during the pandemic. He didn't pass away from COVID, but he was old, and I felt the need to compartmentalize my emotions in that instance. So, like, once I found out he'd passed away, I think that night I sat down, wrote a song. Within a week, it was out in the world, and it was just a way of, right, I need to get that out and be done with it.
Yeah. You got to do something with it, or it eats you. Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
I'm sorry to hear about your dad.
That's fine. I mean, we weren't exceptionally close, but blood is thicker than water. So when I found out he had passed away, I was like, oh, yeah. So. Yeah, so
the thing about being humans, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
We're humans. Right. We love other humans, and we all die.
Now, Michael Carpenter has worked on your tracks, and he's a brilliant producer, absolutely brilliant producer. He can pull the best out of anybody. What was the experience like working with Michael?
I couldn't rate it higher. I go back to him every time because, regardless of the end result, which is obviously very important. You wouldn't go there if it wasn't. But there's, there are plenty of producers that are going to create a work of art. Like that's what they do. They're producers, and the ones that you're going to pay the money to are usually going to come up with a good result for you. But working with Michael, I am so thoroughly comfortable with him, and we're able to throw ideas back and forth, and I'm able to argue with him when he thinks he's got an idea that I don't like, and he's able to put me in my place and go, well, we're going to try it, and if you don't like it, then we can decide, but we're trying it first, and that kind of stuff. And then I'm also confident enough to, if it doesn't work, go, no, don't like it, and we just move on, and we're able to do that really, really well. And so I thoroughly enjoy spending time with Michael and working with music. So that's how it is. So, when I think about, I'm going to record another song, how will I do that? Where will I go? And I look forward to going and spending some time in the studio. So it's good.
Yep, for sure. Now, the album is called All the Mountains I Must Climb. Tell us the premise of the album.
So I actually went in to do a couple, when I say a couple, like it could have been 3, might have been 4 songs. I booked a day in the studio with Michael, and it was pretty much the plan was go in and record what we can, mix it later, and video. So I wanted some really good quality visuals. So, because there's one thing, you can have a song, but then if you've got a video, then people start to get to know your face and you as a person, because they can see. So I thought I'll do some high quality videos and put my patrons in the credit, because this is how I was, financing that. And I got in there and I did the first song in maybe 2 takes. And so we moved on to the second one, and then did that one in 1 or 2 takes, and then the next one. And usually with the video, I've got to have another go at it or something, because my face will do something stupid, or I'll start eating my hair halfway through, and something's bound to happen. And in this case, it didn't. And and I trust Michael, because I'm like, okay, if I've done something stupid, you're watching this, you need to stop me and go, let's start again, don't let it go. And so I just trusted him to do that, and I did what I do, and came to lunchtime, and we'd done 6, and so we went and had lunch, and we could have then mixed, or call it a day or whatever, but I was like, you know what, it's 2.5 hours drive for me to come and see you. I'd rather just see what we can keep going, and then we can drop it and mix some of it later or whatever, however this works, but let's do what we can. And we ended up just pushing through. A couple of them were in 1 take, and we ended up with 11 songs in the 1 day. So that was nearly like a little miracle. And and I thought, I like the videos and stuff, and I just thought, what, this here is 11 songs. It's a body of work. They're only acoustic, but when I say only acoustic, sometimes acoustic is a great storytelling format. And I thought, well, why not just put it as a body of work? And then I thought, okay, well, if I'm going to do that, what am I going to call it? What's the theme that runs through all of these songs? And I'm like, they're all about sort of that challenging. I thought, 1 foot in front of the other is probably the crux of the album, in terms of the vibe. For me, it's always, I'm going to have these challenges. There are always going to be things that, whether they're good or bad, that we're going to have to bring a lot of ourselves to the table in order to overcome these things. So
carry on.
Okay. So I didn't like the name of 1 foot in front of the other, but one of the lines in it was, today's the day I'll make a start on all the mountains I must climb. I'm like, that's the crux for me. There might be mountains, there might be things that I've got to achieve, but you get up and you do it. And I thought, all the mountains I must climb. That has a ring to it. And I don't have a song called that. That'll do. I'll name my album that. Why not?
No worries, no worries. So now, as you mentioned before, you have done things a lot differently to what a lot of artists do. You've gone and set up a patron account, and you've got patrons that help finance this for you. Tell me how that works for you.
So I had actually seen a couple of artists who were doing the Patreon thing, namely Amanda Palmer, who has like 15,000 patrons. And I thought, oh my gosh, what a way to do it. You don't need a label. You don't. Sorry, that's my dog somewhere out there making noise.
That's all, that's all right.
You don't need a label. You don't need major investors. And, I don't have to go and get yet another job in order to be able to afford it. So the idea was, if I put it out and see if anybody wanted to be one of my patrons, then maybe that's a good thing. Why not have a go and do that? And what I found is that by having patrons, it's done a lot more than just allow me the finances to create things, because I'm still at the moment, like, I don't have enough that a whole release is financed via patrons.
Yeah.
I've still got to, I take my time. I have to still take my time and save my money and put that towards it too. But what it's doing for me is allowing me the time to do that, and also having people who are waiting for my content makes I'm so much more committed to creating consistent content then. Because I know I've got to record at least one acoustic track a month, because that's my commitment to my patrons, that every month they're going to get an acoustic track. And, 9 times out of 10, it's not released anywhere else anyway. So it's that sort of exclusivity, and I might release it like later when I have a whole body of work or something like that. But and the other thing that I do is as soon as I finish writing a track, they get the draft. So because I write with a voice memo going anyway, because sometimes I'll just sing and play and magic will happen, and then I'll forget it as soon as it's done. So if I press record and keep going, then I'll go back and play if there's anything that was decent that came out. But yeah, if I go through a run through at the end and it's sort of, yep, this is the outlay of how this song's going to go, and I load it up into Dropbox, put it straight into the patrons, and send them a little, like a picture of the lyrics as I've written them as well. So they get that really behind the scenes sort of stuff, but it also means they also know how much time I spend writing, because if I haven't written in weeks, they know, whereas every time I write, it's there. So it means that my job is a songwriter, and even if it's not a lot of money at the moment, and my dream is to just keep building that and keep exercising that songwriting muscle and getting better at what I do.
Now, you did something very interesting the other day. You came out on Facebook Live, as you had committed yourself to every day, and you actually sat down and wrote a song with people that were watching the live feed.
Yeah, I did. That was fun. Yeah. I got that idea from Danny Young. She does that at the end of the Music Master thing that she does.
Yep.
And I just thought, oh, that's awful. How can you do that? Oh, the pressure. And then I did it with her, and I was just like, oh, that was fun. Like, that was actually fun. I can do that. And so I just went, okay, if anyone wants to watch me write a song or join in, like, just, this is what's happening. I'm going to write a song live. And it ended up being quite fun, because, I'd be thinking, and obviously thinking out loud, because I know there's people there. So just, whatever was in my head was coming out. And, I might say something like, what's another way of saying, like, take off my shoes? There's a better way to say that. And then, 2 seconds later, it pops up in there, and Bert said, kicking off my shoes. I'm like, oh, yes, that's it. Nailed it. And so it worked out really well. And we, it was nice. We liked the songs. Yeah. Yes. That was great.
Yes, yes. I was watching that episode. I didn't put anything into it. I was just watching to see where it went because it was a very exciting thing to watch. I mean, I've watched Danny do it, and I put some lyric ideas in on those shows because I watch them pretty much every week. And yeah, but I was wondering, and I put a video up there the other day. I was just
I
like,
was
this
just
just
about to
came.
say, you're doing it too, aren't you?
Well, sort of in a different way. I haven't. I went live and went, but I don't have the fan base to get people interacting, and of course my time zone's different to
Oh yeah.
my time zones in the eastern states and stuff like that. So it was like I wasn't expecting anybody to come on live and start filling stuff out. So I was just like, just comment in below and let's see what we can do. Of course, I mean that's a brilliant idea. I think more people should be doing it. I think it brings us all together.
It does, and it for me, it's as well. Like I think asking for the topics of
Mm,
because I'm like, what do you want to write about? Let's talk about it. What are we going to say here today? And I think,
yep.
but just by asking that and having that conversation, you start to realize what your particular group of people that you're talking to. What is important to them and what they do want to say, and I think as a songwriter that's pretty powerful too, because you know you're essentially giving them that voice, and that I think is really powerful too.
I think so too, and I think, and I mentioned this with Danny when I did my Dax chats with Danny because I wanted to put it out there. I mean, it's like these are general public people; they're not normal songwriters, and I was like, so what's going to happen with if one of these songs gets released? Are you going to? And that's why I put the little disclaimer in the bottom of mine. I was like, look, if anybody adds a line and this becomes an actual song, you'll get writer's credit.
Yeah,
You'll
yeah,
be
I
you'll
saw
be
I saw
you
that on
you'll be
yours
a
too.
yeah. I mean I just had to do it because I'm thinking, it's you got all these people throwing lines at you and going, um, but I'm a registered songwriter, but
Mm.
these general people in the public that are just throwing lines out at you, they're not songwriters. They don't do it as part of a living. And I was thinking it would be really nice if we could give those people, this credit to say that they helped write this song.
Yeah.
So.
I think for me going forward, my disclaimer will be anything that you add in the comments is
Mm.
free for you to use elsewhere. But if I use it, I'm still going to keep the songwriter credits, not because I don't want to share, but because there were that many little bits and pieces of ideas coming through. It becomes then
Yep.
almost impossible. I would be writing an essay just filling out the APRA form. So, like, I was just like, oh, yeah, well, if you want to write,
But
if anyone's showing some serious potential down here, then maybe we can do a co-write again next time, just one-on-one, and then we can look at that. But otherwise, it's just becomes so hard with 50 different people having a little bit. You're like, oh, well, I don't know.
yeah. Yeah. So let's go. Moving on from here. I mean, obviously, it's a hard thing to say what we're going to be doing moving on because the pandemic's not over yet. We don't know where we're going to go with it. But down the track, what's coming for Michelle Cashman?
Okay, so I'm still just trying to build my Patreon base so that I can generate an income out of being a songwriter, because
Mm-hmm.
not going to get that from streaming.
No, no,
And,
absolutely
there's no
not.
live music either. But I'm also not, I don't have any, even if Corona finishes tomorrow, I don't have any major touring plans because, again, I'm still trying to be diligent with where I put my energy. I don't have the energy to just continuously tour either. So I've got to be kind of careful. But that said, I just want to keep putting out singles. So when I've written a number of these songs and shared them with my patrons, then, the feedback I get from them and what becomes their favorite will help me choose what the next actual radio single will be. And then again, I really loved how that body of work sort of came together. I've written about 20 songs, I think, this year. And, you know, if I just pick out the good ones, there's another album that I can do. So it's, for me, moving forward, regardless of what happens, the important thing for me is that I just continue to write and continue to record and continue to put music out there. And, you know, I'm using social media to try and just connect with my audience, whether they're patrons or not, you know, just to build that and just to try and create connections with people, because ultimately, you know, there's that line in the Brandy Carlisle song, you know, what's the point of this? If stories don't mean anything if you don't have someone to tell them to. I'm paraphrasing that terribly, but you know, you without the people to tell the stories to, you know, it loses quite a lot of its allure.
Belinda Carlisle, you're taking me too far back there. You're like,
No, not Belinda, Brandy Carlisle.
Oh, Brandy Carlisle.
Yeah. That's current, not back to the early 90s.
Well, 80s. I mean, you know, she was.
Oh yeah.
As well.
I still remember dancing around to that Summer Rain song. I loved it.
Oh, in the 80s, I remember the Go-Go's "Our Lips Are Sealed." There you go.
Oh, our lips are sealed. Oh wow.
Yeah, there you go. And I was living in Mittagong at that time too. I was living on the Southern Highlands, and I was going to school at Barrel High School.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there you go. I used to love trying to find Jimmy Barnes's house at the top of Mount Gibraltar. That was fun. Fun times.
I'd be looking for Keith and Nicole's house, Sutton Forest.
No, I was a big Jimmy Barnes fan, and it was, you know, he had Freight Train Heart Studios in Barrel, and he lived up on the top of the mountain there. And I was like, I'm gonna find his house. I know he lives up there.
Stalker.
But I was 12 years old, so
yeah, 12-year-old stalker. You just started early.
That's right. Michelle, it's been lovely speaking to you. I wish you all the best with what you're doing. It's beautiful, it's lovely, it's passionate, and it deserves to be out there. And I hope to hear more from you very soon as far as radio singles, because we need more.
Thank you so very much. Thanks for having me and having a chat. It was great. No
problem. You have a great day.
You too.
All right, now let me see if I can find where my mouse is. All right. That's a new studio. All right. That was Michelle Cashman, and her brand new album is called All the Mountains I Must Climb. And the first single off that is, I believe it's called Please Forgive Me. It's playing on the Country Thunder Network, so I should know. So please check out her stuff on the Country Thunder Network. You can vote for it in the Country Thunder 20, or you can go to michellcashman.com and you can become a patron. Until next time, this is DJ Dax signing out for Dax Chats. We are proudly presented by Neon Horse in Stanhope, Victoria. See you later.